Hi, this is Dan Devlin for the Detective Dan Devlin Show, Honorable People, Honorable Nation. Welcome back. I hope you've been watching our shows. You know that we've covered many issues that deal with the situation of having an honorable nation. Currently, we're in this election cycle, as I would imagine virtually everyone is aware. And unlike many of the elections in the past, there's some very interesting things going on. For those of you who don't know, I have announced that I am running for the presidency of the United States. I realize that most people don't even realize that I'm running. But that's not because we haven't made the effort. It's, to some degree, the situation where if more people would get involved in supporting the person that they wanted, and they would seek out a good person to hold any office, they are more likely to actually get the person that they would like to have in office. But that's not the way the political system runs today. In our system today, we do have two major parties that generally control virtually all of the politicians that are in power today. This year, we have an individual who is running for the presidency who is actually, and it's tough to really say that he's a Republican because he doesn't even have the support of many of the established Republicans currently serving in office. And then we have the Democrat candidate who certainly has some major issues that would cause us all to pause and say, is this the person that we want to have in the presidency of the United States? So the reason that I chose to run is because we need another alternative. Now, we're going to do our part in order to try to get this video to you. And we hope that you will pass it along to others. We hope that you will watch our other videos that we have that deal with many of the topics that are at issue in American society today. But it's necessary to point out that regardless of who actually is placed into office, the people of the United States must, in order to have a responsible and honorable society, they must continue to take part in this process of governing. You've heard me say before that we're about being we the people of the United States. That expression in the Constitution of the United States is there so that everyone knows who is in charge of this country. It is not the politicians unless we allow them to have that control and to wield that control. And if we do not watch what they're doing and hold them accountable, then ultimately we're responsible for the actions that they take because we have failed to make sure that their actions are, one, constitutional, and that they're for the purpose of securing the blessings of liberty to the two groups that I've talked about before, ourselves and the group that virtually no one addresses, and which is at the heart of the reason that I'm running for the presidency. You know, that group is the posterity of the people of the United States of America. Your posterity is all your descendants until the end of time. It's the vision of unborn human beings in the womb and beyond. One of the candidates in particular believes that it's perfectly legal and justified to execute unborn human beings in the womb through the process known as abortion. Now, this video is not just on abortion. It's not just on the fact that we're violently destroying those who are in the womb who were just like we were, and we were able to navigate that time in the womb to become who we are today. And there are some who believe in the concept of treating others other than the way that we would want to be treated. We pointed out before, and I'll do it again, that virtually none of us would want to be treated the way that we treat unborn human beings, those who are our posterity, who are named in the Constitution to receive the exact same benefits and blessings as ourselves. We would treat them differently than we wish to be treated. You cannot have an honorable society with that kind of thinking. You're going to be making a decision here about who is going to lead this country into the future. It's probably one of the most important decisions that you can make at this point in your life. I realize that chances are that either the Republican or the Democrat candidate is going to go into office. But it doesn't need to occur, because you have the ability to write a name down of the person that you want to hold that office. You have the ability to write in Daniel, D-A-N-I-E-L, Devlin, D-E-V as in Victor, L-I-N. You can see my name. It'll be down below me on one of our little scrolls that we have. And you can write that name down. You can take it into a voting booth, and in the section that is provided for people to have a write-in candidate, instead of either pulling the lever or writing in or indicating one of the traditional candidates, you have the ability to write that name in. Now, I'm not the only independent person running for that office. You know, there's a gentleman out in Utah, I believe, who is doing a pretty good job. And he seems to be a pretty honorable person from what I know. And there are other people running around the country in various places in the country, but they do not get much exposure by the media because we have become a people who are in the mindset that we have to take the people that either the Democrat or Republican Party has endorsed. Poor thinking. That is poor thinking, in my opinion, because you will only get the candidates that ultimately are able to either force their way in the way the Republican candidate has done. To a large degree, he's an independent. If you believe that he is the best candidate, obviously your decision is what's going to determine our future. As far as the Democrat candidate, when you have someone who has already served in office and they have shown that they are irresponsible in that they refuse to go by established procedure in order to secure the most confidential government secrets and information that helps protect the lives of those who are willing to risk their life in order to serve this country. And in your position in government, you ignore that and you allow that information to be accessible to those who shouldn't have it. This is not a person that anyone should elect to any office. And I would go further and say that if the truth is known about how these situations were handled by the person who was Secretary of State, any honorable person would have to say it is a tremendous disservice and hazard to our people to have a person like that continue in office and have even more power than they did before. This is a video about soul searching. It's about your decision that is really going to mean a tremendous amount. We sometimes think our one vote doesn't really matter all that much. But if you take the people who have that attitude and you add them up in some elections or in some districts, 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 people may make the difference in what happens in the results of that particular district and ultimately in who we actually place in office. And I say place in office because we need to understand that they're not going there on their own. They have offered to serve. And some of them have gone to great lengths for many years. The Democrat candidate, for example, has spent approximately 30 years or in that area attempting to achieve this one goal of becoming the President of the United States. In order to do that and fill that position, we the people need to have a standard of honorable behavior. We need to be convinced that the individual that we're going to place in that office, and remember, we are doing that, the person that we're going to choose as a leader for our sons and our daughters, and for our grandchildren, and those in the womb, and those who are not even conceived yet. Because that's how powerful this decision of yours is. So when it comes to making a decision during this election, or prior to actually placing your vote in a machine or wherever it's going to go in order to be counted, you need to do that soul searching. And I've just had a conversation with a friend of mine who reminded me that that's all that it's about. It's about who do you believe that is most like the value system that you hold. And if you vote for someone who is not consistent with your values, or who has proven not to go by the system that we have in place, that is in place in order to have us become an honorable nation, such as the Democrat candidate, then ultimately, again, these decisions are the ones that I really don't care if they affect you all that much, because most of you are adults and you've already gone through the early stages in life. And the decisions you make, even if they're wrong decisions, and we do that constantly, sometimes we decide to go out and drive when we shouldn't be driving, and the consequences, if they only affected us, I don't have a problem with that. But when they result in you running over some innocent person or putting somebody in a wheelchair for the rest of their life, I care about that, and I want to keep you from doing that, and that's what our laws are in place to do. And when the Democrat candidate decides that she is not going to pay attention to those laws, that she knows better than all the people who have served in government and established these laws in order to keep us secure and safe and allow us to have the freedom that we have in this nation, when she makes that decision, and there may be a question in some people's minds about whether her actions have actually cost the lives of good, honorable Americans already. I believe that it has. And so I think that it's important for us to know that that vote of ours is representative of who we are. Those of you who are Christian, whether you're Catholic, whether you're Protestant, whether you simply hold those values, and you decide that you're going to vote for any candidate that supports the destruction of unborn human beings in the womb, the posterity named in the Constitution to receive the exact same benefits as ourselves, when you make that decision, I believe, and I think you would believe, that if there's a God above, when it comes time for you to give an accounting of what you've done, I can hardly believe you wouldn't face the question, why did you not protect my other children who I created to live in your society? And if that question ever comes, I cannot think of an answer that would cause a good response from the God that I think we would agree we are to serve. There are many things that this election is about. But in order to be an honorable nation, we must choose to be honorable people. We must ask ourselves, what are our values? What do we want to see in the future of the United States for our children and our grandchildren? We are going to be giving our children and our grandchildren and beyond an example of who we are and how much we cared about them and the values that we want them to have. And if we choose to support someone, and people like to do it, they like to separate their religion from their politics, I don't believe that that's possible. I don't believe that you can be a Christian, whether it's Catholic, Protestant, or whether it's other religions or denominations that have very similar values. I don't believe that you can honestly serve a God who you claim created you and stand by and allow or take part in the destruction of the others who he has also created. So whether you will get away with that, only the dear Lord knows. But I believe in a God of accountability. And if you read Scripture with a view to understanding it rather than trying to get it to conform to your particular philosophy, I think you would find that you will be called to that judgment, and you will be held accountable, and you may find from that Christian philosophy that you may spend the rest of your days in something that we call hell because you didn't care enough to do what you knew was right and to treat others the way you wish to be treated. As far as the Republican candidate goes, I don't think we really know much about that. We certainly get some language that says that he supports the view that unborn human beings do have value and are to be protected. But you can do something very important. No matter who's running for office, no matter what level it is, you go to an event, and time is clicking away, as you know. You go to an event and you ask them if they know what the Constitution says. What are the fundamental principles What is the statement of purpose of the United States Constitution? And that statement of purpose, which is also known as the preamble of the Constitution to the United States, says, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to not one but two groups of people." Those groups are ourselves and our posterity. Do your research. Figure out who that is. I'll tell you who it is, but you don't have to believe me. It is all your descendants until the end of time. It is the vision of unborn human beings. Look it up in all those terms. Look up person, look up child. Look up unborn child. Look up posterity. Look up succeeding generations. Look up descendant in Black's Law Dictionary. And you can look it up in other places and see what it says, but you know in your heart, especially those of you who have Christian foundations and other religions as well, are well established in the knowledge that those young individuals in the womb not only have value, but they're precious to God, and they're intended to go through their lives and live their lives as you have been allowed to. My friends, do not make the mistake that may cost you an eternity in a place where you don't wish to be. Your decision in this election is more about what we become, whether we become an honorable nation because we have chosen to be honorable people. And we do not simply choose the lesser of two evils, but we say this is an ideal that we're willing to fight for, and we won't be channeled in a certain direction by someone else who has a particular goal, but we will stand up and we will speak out and we will write on that ballot the person who we believe can take us to where we need to be that honorable nation that will serve all of us much better than the concept of only doing those things that are best for me alone. I've indicated time is running short, but there is still time. Within a matter of days, you could make sure that this video is seen by your friends and your relatives. I personally have no burning desire to be the President of the United States. But as Scripture tells us, things go terribly wrong when good, decent men will not stand up and lead their people. So in many ways, I have little choice but to at least let you know that I believe in a nation of principle. I believe that in order to be an honorable nation, you and I need to be honorable people. And so when you go into a voting booth, or whether you're sitting at a table, whether you're filling out an absentee ballot, when you have asked yourself these questions, go by what your heart and your soul tells you, and do what needs to be done. I know the attitude is, well, it may not make any difference, but this friend of mine reminded me, is the difference is about us. If everyone else chooses to go in a different direction, and there's a fear, oh, if I don't vote, this person will get into office. At least you will not be responsible for putting a person in office who you didn't thoroughly believe would be a good example to your children and would lead us honorably into the future. None of this happens if you do what you really don't want to do, which I've done in the past. I voted for the lesser of two evils. So we're in this predicament as a people together. But the reality is, no matter who gets in office, if you do your job and I do my job, and we hold that person accountable, it's very, very difficult for us to go in the wrong direction as a nation. Because we will hold these people accountable, and we will ensure once they start stepping outside the bounds of what their authority is, and remember, they are representatives of us. So if you do your job and you get with your people or your community and you've established that this behavior is wrong, this behavior is correct, and then you ensure that your officials follow that, then you're doing all you can do, and you will be honorable people. When you ask yourself the question, is this the way I would wish to be treated? And if you answer, yes, that's the way I would wish to be treated, and then you support that policy, or if you see that a president or a congressman or a mayor of a city is going outside of that, when they're violating things like the U.S. Constitution, you stand up, you do your job, and I give you the opportunity to write in Daniel Devlin for President of the United States, and I will do what I need to do. God bless you all, and let's see where we go from here.